Hello there, Slamscape here with an Elite Dangerous video. Today we're going to be taking a look at the DBX Stealth Light Bomber, built specifically for attacking the Titans directly. This is a build for the more experienced commander or someone who wants to try out Titan bombing with a cheaper ship than the Mechan Krait Mk2 or Mamba. The DBX Stealth Light Bomber is based off of Commander Mechan Krait Mk2 Titan Killer build, which focuses on staying very cold and doing maximum AX missile damage to the core. This is a build that requires engineering, and I will go over which engineering is necessary and which is optional. That being said, since this is a small ship, in order to get the maximum out of this build, full engineering is recommended. The DBX Stealth Light Bomber build starts off with all the utility mounts that are necessary to even get into the Titan Maelstrom. This includes one Sirius heatsink launcher, two caustic sink launchers, and a Thargoid pulse neutralizer. You could switch out one of the caustic sink launchers for a second heatsink if you're not worried about being able to leave the Maelstrom. Also, if you're unable to get the Sirius heatsinks, you can probably get away with a normal heatsink engineered with extra ammo, although your attack runs will be less forgiving. Next up, for the weapons, the DBX has 3 slots, 2 medium and 1 large. For this build, I used the size 2 nanite torpedo launcher and 2 size 2 Sirius AX missile racks. The reason I used the size 2 nanite torpedo launcher versus the size 3 is that I will not be able to go through all the torpedo ammunition before I run out of the AX missiles. Plus, the lower weight and smaller power requirements help the ship move faster and run colder. The Sirius AX missiles are best because they have high DPS and are not affected by the anti-guardian fields that are present around the Titan. If you are unable to get the Sirius AX missile racks, the enhanced AX missile racks could be substituted, although they have less DPS and half the ammunition. Next, for the core internals. For armor, I use lightweight alloy engineered to heavy duty and deep plating. The reason I suggest using lightweight over military grade is that the DBX is generally slow and needs low weight for speed to succeed in the bombing runs. Next, a 4A power plant with low emission and thermal spread. This keeps the ship running cold without the need for a thermal vent beam laser. 4A thrusters with dirty tuning and drag drives for the best possible speed. For the frameshift drive, you can run either a 5A with increased range and mass manager, or even the pre-engineered version, or the new C-grade SCO drives, which will help get you to the maelstroms quicker and cut down on Thargoid interdictions on your way. Then a 3D life support with lightweight, 4A power distributor with charging enhanced and super conduits, and finally 3D sensors with long range. If you're looking for the minimum engineering necessary, you need to engineer the power plant as the entire build revolves around running cold. Next, I would say engineering the thrusters is just as necessary, but even one grade into dirty drives would make a huge difference. Next, under optional internals, we slot in a 4E cargo rack with a capacity of 16 for repair limpets, a 4A auto field maintenance unit. The reason I went with this over, say, a 4D hull reinforcement was for weight, and also lowering downtime between runs. Next, a 3D repair limpet controller, then a 3D and 2D hull reinforcement package, both with heavy duty and deep plating, and then finally, one 2D module reinforcement and two 1D module reinforcements for maximum module protection. With maximum engineering, you should wind up with a top speed of around 370 and a boost of 480, around 1200 armor, 2800 worth of repair, and an idle running temperature of about 10%. The whole strength of this build is running cold and moving fast to hit the Titan vents and heat core, either solo or in a wing. The build is reliant on synthing heat sinks, which requires basic conductors and heat conduction wiring. The best way to get those filled up is to do missions for biotech conductors and finding proto-heat radiators at high-grade emission sources in independent high-population systems in a boom state, then trading down at a material trader. Now we'll take a look at the build in action and walk through the steps necessary to do a successful bombing run. The first thing you need to do once you make it through the maelstrom into the Titan's vicinity is to reduce your power output. I recommend turning off the frameshift drive, the cargo hatch, the auto field maintenance unit, and the repair limpet controller. When necessary, you can turn back on the repair limpet controller or the AFMU, although if you do your runs correctly, you shouldn't need either of them. Once your heat is below 20%, you can make your way over to the Titan to set up your attack run. Wait near the Titan vents and wait for them to open. You begin your attack run by targeting a vent, and then turn towards the next vent and boost while the torpedo locks on and then fire. Target the next vent and then repeat. Continue this until you hit 5 or 6 of the vents, then make your way underneath to the heat core. I recommend to use a heatsink whenever your heat hits around 25 to 30% while attacking the vents. This will keep the turrets and other Thargoids from aggroing you. Make your way toward the Titan's heat core, which is on the opposite side of the vents. Once it opens, start firing your AX missile racks and pop heat sinks when your heat is above 20%. If done correctly, you'll probably only need to use 1 to 2 heat sinks while attacking the core. Once it begins retracting, boost away on a course perpendicular to the core and head toward the asteroid field. With this build, I was able to do about 3.4 million to 3.7 million per attack run solo. Once you're safely inside the asteroids, you need to synth heat sinks, repair any damage taken, and then set up for your next attack run. Using this build, I was able to get into the top 10% for 2 of the cores on Oya, so this is definitely a viable build and puts up the same DPS per run as the Mamba meta build. I will include a link to the DBX Stealth Light Bomber in the description of this video. I will also include a minimal engineering version. However, I wouldn't necessarily recommend that, as the fully engineered version is already pushing the limits of the DBX. Try out this build if you're looking for something off meta or just want to challenge yourself. I hope you found this informative. Thanks for watching.